My name is Victor Adebayo. I'm a legal practitioner, a divorce attorney, a barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. I've been into law practice for basically 5 years now, and I'm loving it as a divorce attorney.
All right, now of all the aspect or segments of law in Nigeria, you decide to go for the divorce. Why so?
Growing up, I lived in a face-to-face apartment in Lagos, in Lagos State. So there's this man that's always beating his wife. This man that is always having issues with his wife in the morning, early in the morning, in the afternoon, at night. He's always having one issue or the other with his wife. So I was very young, but I think I was 4 or 5 then. I usually look at them. Anytime he's beating his wife, I'll run to my mom to tell my mom, Mommy, they are fighting. My mom will go out and she'll see them. She'll say, no, they're not fighting. The man is beating his wife. Victor, when you grow up, don't beat your wife. So I grew up with that mentality all the time. Do not beat your wife, do not beat your wife. And I'm always seeing somebody beating his wife. So that's one of the things that made me study law itself, because I wanted to be a human rights activist. I always want to fight for the oppressed, because I believe that this woman is oppressed and the man is the oppressor. So I decided to study law to fight for the oppressed. And also along the line, when I became a lawyer, I started looking at our society and I felt like these things should be stopped. People should be willing to leave their marriage at any time that they want. So coupled with the fact that I had that understanding while I was small, and looking at our present society now, we see people beating themselves. People, even when the marriage is not suitable and it's not sweet for them, they'll still be in the marriage. So it just built the passion in me, and coupled with the fact that the law firm I was in also, we were always having divorce cases all the time. I find it very, very pitiful and painful, most especially for the females, because it's usually the male that are always trying to oppress the females just because of this because men are egoistic in nature. So I decided that this is a very good aspect of law. I picked the Marriage Act, I read it. I picked the Matrimonial Causes Act, I read it. And we're good to go, and I've been doing it for over 5 years now, and it's been very, very interesting.
Talking about how interesting it is. Now, what is the most prevalent case for people filing divorce? I'm talking about you particular. What would you say is the most reason of why people are filing for divorce these days?
Well, I would love to say that I think the sexual libido of people now have increased so much that most times you find out that men cannot satisfy their wives in bed, and women cannot satisfy their husbands in bed. That's why most times you see men going out there to cheat. So cheating is like the main, I would say cheating is 70% of why people usually divorce their spouses. You find out that people come tell you that, oh, I found a message on his phone, he was texting this girl, he was texting that girl, he was texting this girl, he slept with this person, he did not sleep with this person. So cheating is like 70% of the reason why people divorce in our society these days. And also, lack of tolerance. People do not want to tolerate themselves in marriage. You just see a message with him calling somebody, hi baby, on his WhatsApp, and the next thing you're calling your lawyer, I need dissolution of marriage. Lack of tolerance.
Now, you've been making reference with she. Does that mean that women are the ones who usually or mostly file for divorce?
With my experience and with my knowledge, I would say 80% of the dissolution of marriage in Nigeria today are being instituted by women.
Oh, wow.
Women.
So in a day, how many calls do you usually get for dissolution of marriage?
In a day, sometimes 3 to 5.
Every day?
Every day. Before I got into the studio today, someone called me that she wants to dissolve her marriage, and the marriage was just 6 months ago.
Oh, wow.
So I get a call, at least 3 calls in a day. Hello, I heard you are a divorce attorney. I want to dissolve my marriage. Oh, hello, I saw you on Twitter. Hello, I saw you this. Oh, my friend said that you dissolved that marriage.
Oh,
now
really?
please, mine too is broken down. I want to dissolve it. So the circle is just there. Everybody, I get a call or the other every day as regards dissolution of marriage. And it's very rampant in our society.
Okay, now you mentioned infertility
Yes.
of one of the partner, whichever
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
So looking at infidelity in marriage, that usually happens. What or how do you get the evidence to put out there that will prompt for dissolution of marriage?
Well, I will tell you that infidelity is also the same as adultery, because you are not allowed as a married person to have sexual intercourse with another person while you are still in marriage. So it's adultery and it's an offense. You should not sleep with somebody else while you are in marriage with somebody else. So I will tell you that adultery is is the hardest means of proving dissolution of marriage. It's
How
not
so?
easy to prove because our laws, especially Section 71 of the Matrimonial Causes Act, specifically provides that if you want to prove adultery, you must attach the adulteress, the mistress, as a respondent in the suit. So how would you get that? How would you
How
find
would
that?
you convince her
How
to?
would you convince her to come to court and say, oh yes,
We committed adultery together.
we had sexual intercourse.
Ah.
So it's very, very hard to prove. Very, very hard. Okay, if you are not even, we're not even talking about adding her. Now, our legislation also has proven that before you can talk about sexual intercourse, there must be penetration from the penis into the vagina. How do you prove that in court? How do you prove that, okay, my husband slept? How do you prove that your husband's penis went into this person's vagina and it is not you?
Just like I said, something was done behind closed doors.
Something was done behind closed doors.
Usually
So
prove?
how do you prove it? It is very, very, very hard to prove. Or would you mount a camera in the room and say, let them, two of them go there, and you can understand that it is very, very hard to prove. So what we just do these days is just try to use other grounds for dissolution of marriage to corroborate the fact that this man is cheating. Like use the fact that maybe he's a drunkard or he's insane. Use other facts to corroborate this, that okay, you are a drunkard, you are insane, and you are still cheating, and present WhatsApp conversations and present all of those things that, oh, this is a person, this is a person. And with that, I think you are good to go. But most of the judges these days find it very, very hard to believe, because if they are just allowing everybody just come and say, oh, he was cheating, I saw a message, he was cheating.
So-
All marriages in Nigeria will be broken down, because I'm sure at one point in or the other, a man or a woman must have had one other
Flirted
person
also.
with so
Okay.
no, there will be no marriage in existence in Nigeria.
Okay.
Every marriage will have broken down irretrievably. So that's why the courts are usually very, very careful. You must be able to prove that, okay, yes, there was sexual intercourse between your spouse and the other person.
Now, what's the shortest period of time that a marriage has lasted before they maybe reached out to you to dissolve the marriage?
You were very shocked at what I'm going to tell you. I have had somebody come to me after 2 weeks of our marriage and say, this is not the man I married. Somebody just
2
got
weeks?
married 2 weeks ago. Yes. So this is not the man I married. I think I'm going out. I was very furious and I had to say, no. Please, try to tolerate this man a bit. Most people do not want to tolerate. You see people
What if he was beating her just like the case you witnessed when you were little
I asked
that
her.
prompted?
I asked her that, was he beating? He said no. I said, what's the problem? He said, this was not the man I married. He comes home very late at night. He drinks alcohol. I was asking her, don't you know he drinks alcohol before you got into the marriage? And he said, I did not know that he drinks this much. Imagine, and you want to dissolve your marriage in just 2 weeks. Some people, 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year. And they're already tired. They already want to go out. So I've had 2 weeks and 3 weeks, sometimes 1 month.
Now, what's the weirdest reason that you've heard from somebody filing for divorce?
It comes late at night. And she's a deeper life woman that she always wants her husband to be home 5, 6 p.m. in the evening. And this man comes home around 11 p.m., 12 p.m., comes home too late. And I think I cannot cope, very sad, I cannot cope, and I want to leave. So it's very weird.
Okay, so now, God forbid, if one wants to process or file for divorce,
Yes.
what are usually the steps one will take?
Basically, the first step is reaching out to the parents, your spouse parents, telling
Okay.
them, I'm done with this marriage, and try to tell them to reconcile. So if they've tried to reconcile and it's not working, that's when you approach your lawyer. The rules of professional conduct and the Matrimonial Causes Act also provides that lawyers should always try to reconcile first before instituting a marriage. What I do basically is when they come to me like that, I have a conference meeting with the two of them, the husband, the wife, what's going on. I try to mediate between them and try to see if their differences can be reconcilable. And in the moment when I find out that the meeting ends in rancor and in anarchy, and we cannot find a solution, then we approach the court. We file our papers in court. We serve the other party. Then we start doing the matter in court. We get adjournment till we get our judgment.
Okay, now there is the marriage, let's say in the church or mosque, and there is the one in court.
Yes.
Do your case handle both, or is it only marriages that happened in court?
There's what we call licensed place of worship.
Okay.
There are some churches that are licensed to conduct marriages. We can dissolve, or a divorce lawyer can dissolve such marriage.
Oh.
The ones that are licensed to conduct marriage. I'm not talking of a marriage certificate now. Some churches will just give you blessing of marriage and then hand over a marriage certificate to you. I'm not talking of that. I'm talking of people that have license to conduct marriage. If you are tired of such marriage, you can approach a lawyer and he dissolves the marriage through the help of the court for you. And if you also did marriage under the act, like you went to the marriage registry also, you can also approach a lawyer to dissolve the marriage and it will be done.
All right, let's look at child custody. Does that usually happen in recent cases? In Nigeria, let's put it that way.
Yes, of course, it does. It does. Once you are filing for dissolution of marriage, you'll have informed your lawyer about if you want custody of the child or not. In some cases, some women will say, "Oh no, I don't want custody. Let him take the child away. I'm fine alone." So it happens, yes, in our Nigerian legal system. Once you file for dissolution of marriage, your alternative prayer could be an order of the court to granting the custody of this child to you, and the court would most times give you what you ask for if the respondent, that is the other person, does not object. In the instance whereby he objects, then the court will look at the best interest of the child. Section 40 of the Matrimonial Causes Act specifically provides that in granting custody of a child, the court looks at the best interest of the child. The Child Rights Act, I think Section 1 or Section 4 also provides that the court looks at the welfare of that child, what that child wants, the best position, the best place for that child, not the parties, not the husband, not the wife, not the petitioner, not the respondent. So it is the best interest of the child that the court looks at when granting child custody.
Okay, now in a situation whereby, okay, the child goes to the mother, there's supposed to be something, an upkeep that, let's say the father is supposed to be given to,
Very well.
Let's say the spouse.
Yes.
How does that usually happen?
When it comes to child custody, basically the court looks at the earning capacity of the other person. If the man is the one that is broke, that's not financially capable, but the court, in his opinion, wants to give the custody to the man, the court can order the wife to pay to the man. And in the event that it is the woman that has custody and she's not financially capable of taking care of that child, the court can order the man also to be paying monthly 200,000, 300,000, 50,000, depending on the earning capacity of Section 71 of the Matrimonial Causes Act, depending on the earning capacity of the man, of the other person. So the court can measure, okay, when you were in marriage, you were paying, at least you're settling bills of like 100,000 naira in a month. Now that you're out of the marriage, continue to pay that 100,000 naira to her or to him, as the case may be.
Oh.
So it depends on the capacity. You cannot be earning 50,000 naira now and the court will ask you to pay 1 million naira as child support. It's not possible. The court will ask to look at your capacity because you are going to be in court. When during examination in chief and cross-examination, the lawyers are going to be asking you, what's your earning capacity? You tell the court, my lord, I earn this so amount. So the court would use that in arriving at its conclusion
percentage
of the percentage to be given to the child as child support.
Now, before before we started, we were talking about a reason for divorce. Usually, where you said some initiate divorce after like 35 years of marriage or 50. Or what interesting reason have you heard that initiated or prompted someone to file for divorce after that such long period of marriage?
And basically, those kind of persons have mostly, the ones I have experienced, mostly they have joint properties together.
Oh,
Yes. So those joint properties need to be adjudicated upon. Once the woman or the man is saying that this man looks like this man is beginning to move mad, or this man is beginning to act suspicious, and she wants to protect her children, she wants to make sure that there's an order that that property belongs to her, then she approaches the court just to safeguard that property, just to make sure that there's an order. Because take it or leave it, if the man goes behind her to divorce her, the property still belongs to the man.
okay. So let me get the person who initiated divorce.
Yes.
Usually gets a say of how the whole thing will be.
No. If she initiates a divorce, that's an avenue for her to get an order of court
Okay.
stating that this property belongs to her, or this property belongs to her, because people have joint properties. And sometimes, because of the love amongst them, they will just say, let us just register it in your name, my husband, just register it in your name. And it becomes a problem if there's a dissolution of marriage. The man has that property to himself. But in that kind of situation, the woman will quickly run to the court after 35 years of marriage and say, please, court, I'm no longer interested in this marriage. But this
Because
property...
of property?
Yes. It
Okay.
happens in court all the time. But because of this property, I want you to order that this property belongs to me, or we are having a joint property, or it's joint ownership. The court will look at that and now say, okay, yes, the marriage has broken down irretrievably, then this property, I hereby order this property is a joint property. So that man cannot sell the property when they are no more.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
And also, in the case of death also, when, I mean, if somebody that has spent 35 years in marriage, they should be like 60 to 70 years of age, and nobody knows who's going to die first. Imagine the property we bought is in his name and he dies. The children will come and say, it's our father's property. Imagine if it's a polygamous family. If it's our father's property, we don't know you from anywhere, they throw the woman out. So that's why most times women will quickly rush to court and say, even if we are 35 years in marriage, I'm no longer interested in this marriage, and ask for an order of court that the court should declare that it's a joint property. So in the event that the man dies, she takes her judgment and says, this property is not for your father alone. It's a joint property, it's a co-ownership. And with that, she has bought a stand in her property. So that's why basically most times people, not that they are out of love. Well, I've seen cases also whereby people claim that, oh, I don't love him anymore. Sometimes because they already have a boyfriend in the US or in the UK. They want to run to go and meet their boyfriend in the UK, and they quickly divorce this one, because if they are still married to this person, they will not be able to marry to the person abroad. So the jackpot syndrome also is another aspect whereby people, you see them 35, 40 years in marriage and they say, oh, they are not doing it anymore because they have a young man that's offering them a better life abroad. And this man doesn't even have a house or a car to his name. So they tend to be able to go abroad, get married there, and start a new life, despite the fact that they've had series of children in Nigeria.
So do you usually have to sort case of boyfriend or girlfriend, or is it just marriage? For instance, if a lady should, let's say, sue her boyfriend in one capacity or the other?
There's no law in Nigeria that governs boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. The Marriage Act only recognizes marriages that have been celebrated by the marriage registry or a licensed place of worship. So the fact that it's your boyfriend, it's your girlfriend, does not have anything to do with the courtroom. Whatever it is that is happening between the both of you is more or less like a contract. So you can instead sue for a breach of contract. That, oh, okay, there's even a portion of the law that says breach of contract to marry.
Oh.
Yes. If somebody promises you that, breach of promise to marry, sorry. If the person promises that I'm going to get married to you, and you have spended a lot in the relationship and all of that, you can sue for breach of promise to marry.
If for instance, the person says it verbally, how would you be able to prove that, okay, he said he will marry me?
No, there should be an engagement ring.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not just, I can just go on the street and just be asking everybody, will you marry me? Will you marry me? Will you marry? I'll marry you, I'll marry you. I can say it, no. But there has to be an extra effort. Engagement. I know our family, she knows my family, we're all together, everybody knows us together, we're getting married. As a matter of fact, we picked a date. We're going to get married next month. We're going to get married next week. And it's coming today to say it's no longer getting married. So you can sue for breach of promise to marry.
And what usually follows that? Or what are usually
their
requests?
Actually, what?
What are usually their requests?
Their request is just for damages. Oh, the court should pronounce that, oh, she pay you 20 million naira, 30 million naira for damages, because it's like a contract that you have entered to impliedly. So the court should say, okay, pay 50 million naira to her. I mean, she has bought agbada, she has bought wedding gown, she has bought all of those, she has rented an apartment, rented this, bought everything. So you should pay compensation. And there's one thing that I want to chip in also. The court cannot force an unwilling spouse on the other spouse. The court will never do that. If you say that you're not interested anymore, the court cannot say, no, you must marry her. Oh, no, you must marry him. The only thing that the court looks at is that the grounds for dissolution of marriage. If you are in line with that grounds of that sections 15 of the Matrimonial Causes Act, it provides the grounds that, okay, if you want to dissolve your marriage, you must at least have one of these ground, which is number one, incapability to willful and persistent refusal to consummate the marriage. That is, a man just knowingly just says that he doesn't want to have sexual intercourse with his wife. Willful, not that his private part is not working. No, he just knowingly and says, no, I'm going to punish you by not giving this to you. It's your right as a wife. It's your right as a husband. So if any party says, oh, I'm not going to do this, it's a ground. You can just come to court and say, my lord, this man has not done this for me for over 2 years, 1 year. The court can dissolve such marriage. Number two, if you have not seen your husband for 5 years, he's presumed dead. That's section 71C.
Oh.
If you have not seen him for 5 years, or you have not seen your wife for 5 years, you are in Abuja, you just say you travel. For 5 years, you've not seen him. Now, approach the court that, my lord, I've not seen my husband for 5 years. The court will presume that he's dead.
What if you've been seeing each other, but let's say you guys are not staying in the same house?
Yes, that's another ground. That's the third ground for dissolution of marriage. That is, you have been living apart.
For how long?
For 2 years.
Okay.
Preceding the petition. That is, I'm living in Lagos, he's living in Abuja. We have been living apart with no intention to come back together. You can come to the court and say, my lord, we're tired of this marriage. We have been living apart for 2 years. So dissolve the marriage. Also, next one is, you have been living apart for 3 years too. Even if you have intention to come back, even one of the spouse has the intention to come back, and you do not have intention to come back, you can approach the court and say, my lord, 3 years, we've been living apart. He has intention to come back, but I don't. So dissolve the marriage. The court will say, oh, okay. He dissolves it immediately. Insanity is there also. If your husband is an habitual drunk, is insane.
Okay.
Suddenly, all of a sudden, goes insane.
Mental.
You cannot be reasonably expected to live with such a person.
Yeah.
The next one is imprisonment. Okay. Your husband has been convicted for an offense, or your wife has been convicted for an offense, and you cannot be having sexual intercourse in the prison. You cannot be living together in the prison. You can approach the court and say, this person I cannot live with him anymore since he's been convicted for an offense. Then you walk out.
Okay. Now, briefly, before we sign out, for the reasons that you've heard people filing for divorce, if one is to get married now, what will be the advice that you tell him based on the reasons that people have been filing for divorce? Maybe you tell us briefly.
Well, there's one, I don't know if it's an adage or a word, that you do not advise people that are in love. Because when two people are in love and you begin to advise them, you tend to misadvise. And sometimes when they are back together, you say, that's that man that said this. So that's why I'm very, very careful in advising people when it comes to marriage, relationship, or love. But there's also this one thing that I would say, love is not enough to sustain a marriage.
Okay.
Love is not enough. And love can never be enough. As a matter of fact, love is just 20%. There are other attributes that one should look out for, which is 80% that will sustain your marriage. Number one is the character of the person. You need to know the person for whom the person is. That's why I find it very hard to see people say, I met him 2 weeks ago, I met him last month, we're getting married next month. How? You need time to at least know the person very well for who the person is. I understand that some persons might fake their character. Even if you know them for 3 years, they will fake their character. But at least know, to an extent, know the person that you're getting married to.
What they cannot do.
Exactly. Know the character of the person. Is this person kind? Nobody should make any mistake and marry an unkind partner. Because where love stops, it takes kindness to continue.
Okay.
So, and also, tolerance. There's no perfect marriage anywhere. No perfect marriage anywhere. We just learn to always tolerate ourselves. You should just make up your mind that this is the person I want to be with. So no matter what happens, I want to be with this person. Tolerate the person, at least to a certain extent, until when you feel that, oh, I think I cannot tolerate it anymore. Some people do not want to tolerate at all. Once they see a red flag, they're walking out. They walk in and walk out.
No time.
No time at all. Especially social media these days have bastardized the union called marriage. Social media is always against everything that people learn on social media, usually against marriage. So that's just one of the things why people dissolve their marriage, basically.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that enlightenment.
Thank you.
Well, these how far we can go for this interview. Well, until next time, do stay around, and of course, get the very best. You can follow us on all, of course, our social media platforms. That's Fact News Hausa and at Fact News Africa. Of course, my name is Philip Sliven. Do have a lovely, lovely day.